Hi friends, this is Bilal Haider and this is the 15th part of the video series, and in this video part we are actually going to write some code for us. Okay, from now on we will be starting writing some codes. Okay, and we'll write it and we will test it if it works or not, and yeah, we'll do that in this video part. Actually, I have already written a simple code in my variables file, but before I go ahead and show you that code and explain it to you, I must tell you that whenever we write our code, it's very best that we test it. We test for different variables, we check their values, because sometimes when we are writing very complex code, and there are some values of variables which create problems, and sometimes um, we we don't find those errors or those mistakes in our code. So it's best practice to print those variables, and whenever you will print something in your code, it will be displayed under this console window here. Okay, if your code has errors or warnings, it will be shown inside this console window. Whenever you will play your game, it will start executing the code which you have written, and if it finds some errors or some warnings, it will display here at this console window here. And also we print um, we print values for our variables to check, to actually debug our code. Okay, to find mistakes in our code. Okay, sometimes let's say you are making a game and your character is walking very fast, which you don't want, and you are not able to figure out why it's walking very fast. And at that point of time, you will be needing to check values for those variables while running your game, so that you will be able to know what variable or what values are causing this problem, so that you can fix it. So now let's go ahead and let me show you the code which I have written here. And what this code is doing, basically, it looks for all the camera objects which are there in our scene, and it counts them and return us that count. Like, it tells us how many cameras are there in our scene. By the way, what a camera is something through which your user sees your game. Okay, your user sees your game, what's happening in your game, the user will see through that camera. Okay, so let's get back to our code, which will calculate, which will find all the cameras in our scene, and it will tell us the count of those cameras. Like, it will tell us how many cameras are there in our scene. Okay, sometimes in our games, like in car racing games, there are more than one cameras. Like, you see one camera at the top, which displays what's going on behind your car, and one camera is showing you what's going on in front of you, in front of your car, and there are some other cameras which shows you from the top or a perspective view. Okay, so there can be more than one cameras, and it can happen that we need to find out how many cameras are in our scene, and then we have to loop through all those cameras and find a particular camera through our code. Okay, so let's get back to our code and see how it's done. Okay, so what I have done here, I have actually let's get rid of this update function because it doesn't do anything at this point of time. Okay, so we have our variables class, same class, but we have created a variable here, and we have created an integer type variable, and we have created it outside of our functions, which will make it public, um, which will make it global actually, so that we will be able to use this variable inside these functions, and also we can use this variable inside any of the functions which we will create down here. Okay, if we declare this variable inside of any of these functions, it cannot be used outside those functions. Okay, so you should also keep this thing in your mind, that variables have their scope. Okay, some variables having local scope, which means that variables will be used only inside inside their scope. Like this variable scope is um, this these curly brackets. Okay, this one and this one, it can be used anywhere inside these curly brackets. And if you will declare a variable inside a function, it will be used only within its brackets. Okay, so that's how scope works. So anyways, we have created a variable here, and in our start function we are using this camera class, and we are calling its method all cameras, and we are um, finding the length of them. Okay, so if there are 4 cameras, this statement will return us 4, and it will be stored inside this count variable. Okay, so if um, there are 10 cameras, it will return us the number 10. If there are 20 cameras, it will return us the number 20. Okay, so here we have initialized our count variable. Okay, and now here down here we have created our own function our own function in which we are just printing this message in our console window, to just so that we know if the code which we have written is actually working or it's not working properly. Okay, so we have used this print statement, which actually um, logs out a message in our console window, and so that we will know if our code was working or not. So how we use this print statement to show a message in our console, we just write this print keyword, and then we create these parentheses and end that statement with semicolon, and inside these parentheses we will write our constant text inside double quotes, and we will use this um, plus symbol here for concatenation. So it will combine this string value with the count which you will get from here. So it will alert us a message something like we have got 5 cameras, just like that. So that's how we write um, that's how we print our messages on a console window. Okay, after creating this function, we are calling it here just after we called we have written this statement. Okay, once we find the count of cameras, then we call this function to display us whatever the count is. So this was pretty simple code, and let's see if it works or not. Okay, currently um, it didn't display any message in here. Why is that? Because we have not attached this script to any of our game objects which are there in our scene. So let's go ahead and attach this script to our main camera, and now let's go ahead and play it, and let's see if it. Okay, so here you can see it tells us that we have got one cameras. Okay, so our code successfully executed, and it displayed us the right results. Now let's go ahead and create one more camera in here. Let's go ahead, game object and camera. Okay, now we have two cameras. Let's see if it prints the right message or not. Okay, so the code is actually working. It has given us this message that we have got two cameras, but there are about 999 plus warnings here. It's saying that there are two audio listeners in the scene. Please ensure there is always exactly one. So okay, so here we have our main camera. It has an audio listener, and also the camera which we created just now, it also has an audio listener. So let's remove one of them, and now one thing you need to notice that when I was in play mode, and I removed this audio listener, and um, and when I came back here and paused my video, um, it 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 undo that. It bring back my audio listener here, so that you need to notice that whatever changes you will make while playing the game will not be effective when you will stop that play mode. Okay, so make sure you are making changes um, when you're not playing the game. So now let's remove it. Now let's play it once again. Okay, now here it gives us that, it shows us that we have got two cameras and no warnings at all. So now our code works perfectly, and it works perfectly fine. Okay, so this was pretty simple example of how we write code. We also discussed about scopes. We also created a function that prints a message, and we have also written a statement that used a built-in class and its methods to bring the result which we wanted. So I hope you like this video part. We'll progress slowly and steadily from simple to complex. So keep watching my videos. I hope you liked it, and see you next time.